So I figured I'd have a look back at old fan-made content, more specifically the Reign of Marvel series by Counter-Rail, or to get more specific, the Pentagram Syndicate, which contained two interweaving corresponding series, Reign of Marvel and the S.H.I.E.L.D. Files. There'd be an episode of Reign of Marvel which focuses on the main Marvel heroes in action, and then the S.H.I.E.L.D. Files which would focus on the behind the scenes of what was going on. There are only 5 episodes total, with Counter-Rail later having a more fleshed out Batman series with Batman Abyss, and much later content focusing on such. I don't know why it was exactly stopped. Maybe with the scale of a project it just couldn't be helped. I understand that. I just figured it would be fun looking back at this. Anyway. Reign of Marvel Episode 1, The Hulk vs. the Avengers. This is a fun episode on its own and could be seen as standalone compared to the rest of the series. I could have seen him just make this episode on its own, then later deciding to build on it with a series. I like the sets for this one, gives a real sense of scale. I also find the Avengers selection interesting. You'd imagine for facing the Hulk you'd have some heavy hitters like Thor or Vision, maybe a Sentry. But here we mostly have some average tier Avengers, with Iron Man being the most equipped to handle the Hulk. I also like the sort of selection with 2 notable Avengers, Spider-Man who's his whole own brand, and Wolverine, the honorary X-Men. You know, just Marvel's finest. And hey, Counter-Rail voices all these guys, which is pretty dang impressive. Overall, this is a fun little adventure with some action and some interplay. Following up, we have the S.H.I.E.L.D. File 1 with the Phantom Signal. Here the series starts getting more serialized, and we go from personalized sets to a lot more green screen. I have my preferences, but I get work of technical limitations, I know. I like in a meta sense, we literally start in a VR simulation showing how digitized everything is. The main focus characters here are Sharon Carter, Maria Hill, and Jan Van Dyne Watt, eventually investigating a Phantom Signal. Meanwhile, Dum Dum Dugan is the main dude investigating the Avengers during the Hulk incident. I like Dum Dum Dugan in this series, and it makes it a shame we didn't see much of him in the MCU. During the Asgard incident, Sharon Carter gets beheaded, which makes it a little weird since she was the main focus character in the simulation, and we don't end up re-seeing these guys after this point in the series. I like the angle a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent gave Iron Man the idea to use Betty's voice to calm down the Hulk before blasting him. However, it wasn't exactly Dugan's idea, but he was having a talk with War Machine, who was having his whole other thing. There's gonna be some lore, but there's another fan creator creating a series with War Machine, which explains why he was such a big nod there. Deadpool was also in that one, which makes it weird how it ties to Deadpool here. Anyway, overall a decent episode. Next we have the next episode of Reign of Marvel, The Fantastic Foursome. This is probably the most eventful episode in the series since we get a lot more into the Pentagram Syndicate, and it ultimately involves Doctor Doom hiring 4 mercenaries known for fighting Wolverine, and having them take on the Fantastic Four. I like the idea of facing the Fantastic Four has become too personal for Doctor Doom, so he has to send other people to take care of this. I also can't help but look at the 4 Wolverine villains, and be reminded of a Hulk vs. Wolverine animated film, which also featured them. You know, seems kind of fitting. Those 4 guys there, facing the Fantastic Four. Also, Nate from Deadpool and Friends might be one for more definitive Deadpool voice for me, debatably even more than Nolan North or Ryan Reynolds. I will say again for Fantastic Four, it's kind of iffy. I get to doing schlocky satirical representations of Fantastic Four is pretty commonplace, but feels a little much here. And getting them all killed off, it's like, okay. In a certain mindset, I could vibe with it more. Now I got the S.H.I.E.L.D. File Episode 2, Take Aim. This one's kind of funny to me, since while being the S.H.I.E.L.D. side of the series, it heavily features Hawkeye and Hank Pym Ant-Man, as Avengers turned S.H.I.E.L.D. agents tagging along here. Like, I guess they kind of S.H.I.E.L.D. if they're low-powered enough. The AIM fight scene is so crazy, Batman randomly shows up. Apparently this was meant to reference Dark Knight Rises, which had a cluster heck of a battle at the end, and possibly shadowing this channel becoming more of a Batman channel. I like this little action beat with Ant-Man and MODOK. We also get some Dugan with X-Men. It's kind of interesting the main threat throughout this series is this super hacking thing that could get into technology servers, like the Ultimate Threat Society, hacking. Now getting to the final episode made for this series, Reign of Marvel 3, Wolverine Buster. Basically Doctor Doom sending a heck of a ton of Iron Man robots to hunt down Wolverine. This episode also starts with a Professor X vision of hypothetical episodes to come. Loki with Maria Janet, Elektra standing over Daredevil, Snaps with Frost Giant, Sue becoming evil, Deathstrike and Omega Red with Wolverine, Deathstrike fighting Logan, some Days of Future Past thing with Bishop and Scott and Jean's daughter, and Logan fighting Ultron, who might end up being a super hacker. Then Professor X makes a joke about this all being above Storm's pay grade. What could have been? Overall, I liked the fight scene with Wolverine in the Iron Man suits. Probably the best action scene since the one in the very first episode. Part of it helps that this is a pretty clear and open environment, so it just feels more roomy compared to a claustrophobic room full of AIM agents. Overall, an odd place to end off with, but if you had to, I guess it's a decent place. Anyway, overall, a decent look back, especially for a version of Marvel before it gets super MCU-fied. And it's cool Counter-Rail's moved on to other stuff. It's interesting to think how much this kind of affected me. Like, remember with the MCU, when they revealed S.H.I.E.L.D. was infiltrated in Captain America Winter Soldier, and it not really coming back since then, I was like, oh shit. Because S.H.I.E.L.D. was super built up in this series, so it made it feel like a big thing there. Also, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series that the MCU made, which I never really got into, didn't seem to have the mystique or quirkiness this show's take on S.H.I.E.L.D. was. Anyway, overall, a decent look back. I'll see however I take Marvel or DC characters with whatever I do. Had some stuff made in the past and plans for the future. We'll see.